What's up and welcome back to the Craft Mansion. So in today's video I'll show you how I made Captain America's shield. It's also complete with the back straps, which I made from belts. And before we start, do me a favor and hit that like button. It's somewhere underneath the video. And if you're not subscribed, don't forget to subscribe, and also you can throw in a comment. So, as you can see, the workshop is a bit different from the previous videos. This is a new workshop, and if you saw the previous videos, you can see that I moved into another room. So, halfway through the video, I will be changing into this room. This is because I started this project about 5 months ago, before I did C3PO. C3PO is this video that you can see up here. There's a link. So, let us start the tutorial, but first, the intro. So I'm going to start off with a piece of floor mat foam. This is not as big as the shield. The shield is about 62 centimeters, 63 from what I calculated. And this is 58 centimeters, but I have to work with what I got. I first found the center by marking the diagonal lines. Then I used a strip of poster board, a pin and a pencil, so I could draw out the diameter. It's best to have a sharp knife for this, so I used the bottom end of a mug to sharpen my knife. And then I started cutting the circle. I used the same technique to mark the inner circles. The first one is 11 centimeters in radius, the next is 17.1 centimeters, and the last one is 23.2 centimeters. To inflate in the shield, I will be using the front face of an old fan. So I cut the outer circle to straighten out the edges. I bent the spikes outward to have a smoother shield and sanded the central piece of plastic. Next, I applied contact cement to attach the circle to the middle of the fan. I applied the contact cement to both surfaces, and then once dry, I stuck both pieces together. I applied some more contact cement to stick the fan to the foam. To cover up the fan, to make it sturdier and have a place where I can attach my straps, I'm going to put another circle of foam. So I measure out the diameter and then draw and cut the circle. The foam is half an inch thick, so it needs to be beveled out over here so it fits nicely with the rest of the shield. Like this, it will fit better. And then on the other side, I marked the circles like the ones on the front of the shield. Then at the back, where the straps attach to the shield, there are these braces. So I made a copy from paper and then made two from craft foam, so I can stick these with contact cement. The area of exposed texture needed to be smooth, so I drew a circle where I needed to cut the foam. I marked the thickness, and then thinned out the edge. I applied some more contact cement, and then stuck the back to the rest of the shield. Then I removed the excess foam and sanded down the rest. After I finished all the foam parts, I started the back details. So I made a pair of these from thick wire for every brace, so 4 in total. I marked where they needed to go by pressing onto the foam, made 2 holes, and then super glued them in place. Then to hold the other end of the belt, I made this thing, so it's made out of foam board, and as you can see there's a slot for this belt and then another slot to connect with the belt over here, and there's space for the belt to enter. So as you can see, half of it is cut from the side and there's half a toothpick to support the remaining foam. This will be glued in later once it's painted. To make the star, I pinned down a printed version, traced all the lines, and then I cut about a quarter of the way through the foam. Then to open up the cuts, I used the heat gun on low heat and kept it a fair distance away from the foam. After heating, some edges came apart, so I glued them together again. I also filled in some holes by mixing foam shavings and some white glue. Then I coated the entire thing in black Plastidip, and after that I started with the red paint. So now that it's dry, I can start masking off the red, so I can spray paint the silver and then the blue in the middle. I measured the 11 cm radius and then cut strips out of masking tape. Now this gets to be the best part or the worst part. Depends on whether or not the tape actually sticks to the red paint or not, because if it does, it's gonna be pretty much the worst part. But it seems to be okay. I spray painted some metallic blue in a cup, but I quickly realized it was a mistake to brush it on. Then I tried rubbing it off. Yep, it got worse. So then I decided to paint over the whole section just to smoothen out the mistakes. After that whole fiasco, I decided to use regular paint. And luckily, this one worked. Now it's time to work on the belts. So I have some belts over here. These are the ones I'm going to use for the shield. And I have some pictures over here. So this is the template of the brace, where there's the hand. So I need to work out some details on the length of the different pieces of belt, because as you can see on the paper, there are about 3 sections. There are the flat ones, and then there's the one where you hold your hand and where you insert it into your arm. I went ahead and spray painted those things with silver spray paint, and then I cut the pieces which I needed from the belt. Now these pieces of belt need to bend at the end, but as you can see it's pretty hard because they're quite thick. So I've managed to do something like this, where I cut off through the middle for this section only, and then it's easy to fold. I created that thinner area by first cutting halfway through the belt, and then reducing the thickness of the belt between those 2 cuts. Now that I knew where it would fold, I punched the hole slightly away from the thinned area. As you can see in the pictures, there are some bolts on the belt, and I found these screws, but not all of them are silver. Some of them are gold colored, so first I have to remove the golden color. I used my rotary tool to remove the top layer of color. Then I polished the last bit on a very fine sandpaper, and if you don't have a rotary tool, you can usually use sandpaper. Of course, it would be slower, but it still works. I changed my rotary bit to one that cuts, and I cut just underneath the head of the screw, and then when it was near the end, I just snapped it off. Then I started assembling the belts. So I used super glue to attach the belts to the silver parts. Using some more super glue, I attached the head of the screw in the hole I had made previously. For the middle part, I repeated the process, but for both ends of the belt. After all 5 pieces were attached, I cut a piece of thin foam and then fitted between the ends of the middle part. Then I covered the foam with a white piece of masking tape. Now I'm using masking tape because it has a sort of leathery texture. So when all three are attached and then painted, it doesn't look like masking tape anymore, but it looks like a piece of padded leather. I marked both ends and then cut halfway through the belt to repeat the previous process of thinning out a piece of the belt. Then I inserted one of the ends through the wire I had previously attached and started super gluing everything in place. Then I attached 2 screws to the silver parts. I created another pair of U-shaped wires through which I could attach my straps. Then I super glued them both in place. I cut off the buckle end of the same belt and then punched a hole near the middle. I glued it in place and then attached one of the screw heads I cut earlier. So I've tested this belt and I figured out it's too long. As you can see, it already reaches the other side and I need this as well, so it's too long. So I decided to take this off and I'm going to use it for the arm, for this part. And now for this part I'm going to use a smaller one I just cut so I can replace this one. Once I glued the shorter piece, I measured the corresponding part. After I finished, I gave it a clear gloss, so it now shines. And at the back, I also finished the larger strap. So for the smaller strap, I have 2 holes, and then for the larger one, I have 3 holes. This so it can be adjusted, and if I wanted to make it a bit looser, I could just take it off, and then go into the next one. If you like this project, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You can do it right here. And you can also watch either 2 of these videos. And until then, I'm David, this is the Craft Mansion, and I'll see you guys next time.